All right, so shortly before Christmas, a businessman was anxious to get home, and the business trip had been grueling, and he was not in a good mood. Can anybody relate to that? Okay, so the airport loudspeakers blared Christmas carols he was sick of hearing, and he thought their decorations were tacky. And the worst decoration, he thought, was the plastic mistletoe hung over the luggage scale. So being in a grumpy mood, he said to the woman at the counter, "You know, even if I weren't married, I wouldn't kiss you." "That's not what it's there for," said the attendant. "The mistletoe's there so you can kiss your luggage goodbye." Do not mess with airline people. I used to be one. Don't do it. So, happy Advent. Here we are. And you know, Advent metaphysically means, well, actually not really metaphysically, it means second coming. And so the second coming metaphysically means that we come into yet another awareness of the truth of what we are, and we deepen that during this time of year. So last week we had Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin. If you're here, they were just the most, I just love them so much. And so that was our first Sunday where we kind of sang about faith. And so I'd like to explore faith with you this week, as well as peace, because they're so entwined together, because peace is today's Advent theme. So what is faith? What is that? You know, we hear a lot about that in the spiritual world. Faith. What's faith? Well, to me, faith is where we direct the creative energy of the universe. Where we direct the creative energy of the universe. In other words, what do we believe? And whatever we believe, whatever we're holding as true, is where we're directing this creative energy of the universe. So a great place to look at where you're putting your faith is at your life right now. How's it looking? Yeah, okay. So it's just an opportunity. I hear a rumble in the back of the room. Yeah, so noticing where we put our faith, I think, is really important, because that's where we're giving our power. We're giving our attention and intention. And so then, okay, so peace. So the definition of peace from the Revealing Word, which is just a little book of metaphysical terms that we use in Unity, it says harmony and tranquility derived from an awareness of the Christ consciousness. That's what peace is. So the Christ consciousness is our true nature. So peace is the nature of the Christ consciousness. So peace is our true nature. And the Christmas season is really about awakening to that peace and deepening our expression of it in the world. And that expression is rooted in faith, rooted in a knowing of the truth of what we are. So a peacemaker is someone who says peace to the turbulent waves of thought and have those thoughts obey. That's also from the Revealing Word. So, how are you doing with those turbulent thoughts right now? You know, it seems, okay, so we acknowledge, you know, often on Sundays, that the world right now in appearances can look very chaotic and can generate some turbulent thoughts. And then put Christmas on top of that. A little bit more busy, you know, and sometimes, you know, we get together with family, and sometimes that's peaceful and sometimes that's not. Sometimes we're waiting in lines longer than we normally do. Sometimes the traffic at the mall is just like, oh, wee-vey. Yeah. So sometimes it's different to calm those turbulent thoughts. And so I started to think of the story in the book of Mark. So I'm jumping ahead, you know, because Christmas is when we celebrate Jesus' birth. But I wanted to talk about a story that really resonated for me. So Jesus, in his ministry, was teaching to the crowds, and he was tired, and so he thought he'd call it a day. And so the disciples and Jesus needed to get in a boat and travel to another place to get away from the crowd. And so they're on this journey to this other place, and Jesus is tired, so he falls asleep in the stern of the boat. And during this journey, this turbulent storm just kicks up. And the disciples are freaking out. And here's Jesus, just chilling, And so they just wake him up and say, "Aren't you just the least bit concerned that we're perishing?" And so Jesus wakes up and goes, "Peace be still." And all of a sudden, the waves calm, the storm ceases. And the disciples are like, "Whoa." And Jesus says, "Why are you afraid? You still don't have faith?" And so I thought, wow. Here the disciples have been hanging out with Jesus for a while now, and they still don't quite get it. And it just reminded me of my own journey about how long I've been in unity, how long I've been on the spiritual path, and how sometimes the turbulent thoughts can come and just take me over. Can anybody else relate? Yeah. Well, I had an opportunity to experience this week. So I'll get to that in a minute. But what came to me as I was processing this, because I go into meditation, to write the messages on Sunday. And what immediately came on my awareness is my mentor's screensaver. My mentor used to have on her computer as her screensaver this statement. This says so much of who she is. "What is the truth I know, and how steadfast am I in its application?" What is the truth I know, and how steadfast am I in its application? Because for her, that was her barometer of peace. If I'm living in alignment with the truth of what I know, I'm at peace. So, okay, this week, I am renting a townhouse over in Germantown. And so I had signed a 2-year lease, and the 2-year lease is going to be up in March. And so I had reached out to the rental agency to say, what's the landlord's intention about the rent? Is it going to go up or whatever? I just need to know what to expect. Well, the call I got was, "You need to move out." Oh, yeah. Apparently, he is moving his parents into this house. And let me tell you, I really love my house. I mean, I've got it all pretty the way I want it, and, and so I'm like, okay, turbulent thoughts. But, that's not true. I read somewhere that the first 3 seconds of hearing something is your true, authentic response. Is how you really feel about it. Within the first 3 seconds, when something comes towards you and you're not expecting it, and then you respond, the first 3 seconds, that's how you really, really feel. And when I first heard that, I went, cool, it's going to be an adventure. And then I went, because my past conditioning is when you get thrown a curveball, you go immediately to fear, you go immediately to lack and distrust of the universe. Worst case scenario, oh my God. Yeah. So what was really interesting was I was able to witness that process. I could see where I was going to fear, lack, and distrust of the universe. And so I decided, okay, what is the truth I know, and how steadfast am I in its application? I could hear my mentor's voice. Sheryl, what is the truth you know? Are you walking in that? Are you walking in your knowing? So I decided, okay, what's the truth I know? The truth I know is that when I get still, I can get into a better place. And so I basically did the meditation that we did this morning. I got still and I started to breathe. And going, okay, all right. Because the thing is, what's true, folks, is never out here. To access what's true, we've got to get quiet and we've got to go underneath the circumstances. whenever we go to fear, lack, and distrust of the universe, it's never about what we think it's about. Ever. It's about our past conditioning. Our parents did the best they could, but, my mom was afraid. She had evidence that she needed to be afraid. She had evidence there wasn't enough. She had evidence that she couldn't trust. Okay, so I got quiet. I took a deep breath. It's amazing, folks. I'm not kidding. Peace in the midst. You can be peaceful. I can be peaceful in the midst. And when I breathe consciously, we take the breath so for granted. And so I just got still and I started to breathe. And I tried to bring my attention to the present moment. Because, when we're afraid and that fear, lack, and distrust of the universe, where are we? In the future, or we're like, well, it didn't work last time. Actually, if I look at last time, I can see how much it has worked. But when we're in the swirl, it's like, so we get to get quiet and we breathe. And it's amazing how when we start to breathe and breathing into the scurry of the thoughts, breathe into the thoughts. Don't resist the thoughts. Resist not by breathing. And so we breathe, and then all of a sudden there's a space. There's a space that opens in the heart. There's a space that opens in the wisdom center. And all of a sudden, I'm not, I was noticing I wasn't in the past or the future. I was in the present moment. It's so beautiful. The present moment is peace. Because that's all you have in the present moment. And so what happens when I go to that place that's underneath the circumstances, all of a sudden there's room for my infinite wisdom to inform my mind. You see? Because when we're all in the flurry, we're so constricted and there's not room for the wisdom's always there. It's you. But when we're so constricted, can we hear it? So all of a sudden I got, so what's the truth I know? The truth I know, really, all's well. I'm going to find a better place than I have right now. I am prosperous. I am infinite abundance. I've got all the support that I could ever want. I'm so grateful. So what's the truth I know, and how steadfast am I in its application? That's where I put my knowing. I hang my hat on that knowing. So that's just a simple process, but boy, is it profound. Because I'm in a completely different place around this whole move. Now I might have to do some more work around this, because it's a process. Folks, we don't check the box, just because I'm peaceful right now and I'm able to teach it to you right now. But we teach what we most get to learn. Yeah. And so I might have to come back around several times to what is the truth I know and how steadfast am I in its application. But that question is in my awareness and it's not leaving me. So, there's another Bible story that relates to this, that to me models. It's a little different than the disciples freaking out in the boat. So it's from Luke 2, and the shepherds are tending their flocks by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said, "Don't fear, for I bring you good news of great joy. For unto you is born a Savior. And this is how you'll find him." And so I love that, because let's metaphysically interpret that story. Okay, so the shepherds, the flock of sheep or goats, it's always thoughts. So here the shepherds are, and they're tending their flock. They're keeping watch over their flock by night. They're keeping watch. They've become the observer. They're watching the turbulent thoughts. And in the night represents our fear, the fear of the unknown. But the shepherds are keeping watch over their flock. And what happens? Remember, they were afraid because the angel was so filled with light. Yeah, so when we're tending to our flock, those turbulent thoughts, we create room for that illumination. An angel is always a divine messenger. So the shepherds were modeling to us, when we tend our thoughts in present moment awareness, we become the observer, and we do not become them, the illumination comes, and we are led to the Christ. We are led to the Christ that we are. Yeah. Don't you love that metaphysical interpretation of these stories? It's so fun. Yeah. So, okay. Here we are in the midst. What is the truth that you know? And how steadfast are you choosing to apply it? And this is not about shaming. This is not about blaming. It's just an opportunity for you to check in. It's a great question. What is the truth I know? And how steadfast am I in its application? I'm going to ground the truth I know in faith. I'm going to walk in my knowing. I'm going to create space in my being for the wisdom that I am to inform my choices. And folks, I tell you what, when you are living your truth steadfastly, you will have the greatest peace. You will be peace in the midst. So let's take a deep breath. So this week, I just invite you, if you experience some turbulent thoughts, instead of freaking out or getting all, I call it wadded, just take a deep breath. Get still. It doesn't matter whether you're standing in the line at Macy's or you're on the Beltway or whatever. Use the breath. Take a deep breath. Bring your awareness to the present moment and ask yourself, what is the truth I know? Beyond this circumstance, underneath this circumstance, and I choose this Christmas season to steadfastly apply it. Moment to moment to moment to moment. Yeah. We are peace in the midst. Let's affirm together. I am a radiating center of peace and faith. Yes, you are. And so it is.